When you finish reading, please put the paper on top of your head so I can tell. You have 1 minute to finish reading. So, the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about modeling, because I think that a lot of you may have the wrong idea, and that might affect your design. Then, once we agree on what I mean by modeling, we'll talk more about the design process. There's a really big difference in the sciences. When we say a model, scientifically, that is not what many of you think of as a model, like a hobby. When people make little model cars and model airplanes, those are supposed to look like the real thing. When you make a model of your passive solar house, your job will be to build something that sort of looks like your house, but more importantly, that works like your house. So, can anybody see which houses have a green roof? There's this one, and this one. Here's the funny thing. The three that have a green roof did not function the way that a green roof works, and even though they look like a green roof, they were a bad model, and their grade went down. On the other hand, this one has the best functional green roof of any design. Anybody know why you sweat? Like evolutionarily, what's the adaptive value of sweating? Cool yourself. How does it cool you down? You make a very thin layer of water, and when water evaporates, heat is lost. Energy is taken away from your body. It's called evaporative cooling. When you see those houses that have a garden on top, those houses are sweating. They have a small layer of water in the dirt and in the plants. And on a sunny day, Those plants will breathe out some water. By turning liquid water into steam, they are releasing energy, and it literally cools your house. It's making your house sweat. If you want, you don't have to build a green roof. You could just take like 1 trillion wet towels and throw them on top of your house, and it'll work the same way. Your house gets colder. So, these kids had a green roof too, and theirs worked because they got a wet rag, put it on top of the house after it was wet, and in the summer test with the sun right above, you could actually see little bits of water vapor rising. It was like a little bit of steam coming off their wet rag, and that was a model of a green roof for full credit. Again, these kids found out, oh, Adobe is a lot like clay, so let's just build our house out of clay. Unfortunately, clay this thing doesn't function like Adobe. So these guys also had an Adobe house, and they got full credit. They used like paper mache. It's called lightweight papercrete, because it traps those million little air pockets and has really tight earthen ingredients. This worked really well to replicate the function of Adobe. You may notice some kids do this for a deciduous tree, but the funny thing is deciduous trees just provide shade. So this is a perfectly acceptable deciduous tree. You can just stand it up in front of your house. And then, you know, sometimes the leaves will fall off the tree and the house is no longer shaded. Wintertime, you just remove your shade provision. And this is a perfectly acceptable way to model the function of a deciduous tree. Shade half the year, no shade the rest of the year. For the design, you'll have to research at least 8 passive solar design concepts. And then you'll have to incorporate them into some sort of a neat house. And I really like houses that are creative, that are funky and interesting. You'll put those 8 ideas on a key, and then you'll make a drawing that says, this is your big brother. That says, like, look, number 3, there's the thing we were talking about with the roof. And number 2, here's that thing we were talking about with the color selection. And number 4, that wall of glass that we were, number 7 is those deciduous trees. Okay? Please look up. There's a few important details you'll need to know. First of all, you must color what's called the street view. The street view has like landscaping on it, how it would look if you were walking up on the sidewalk. They're out of the way. They're in the wrong place. Then, in addition to the street view, you need a back, side, front, top view, and a wall plan, which is the top minus the roof. This was a pretty low-budget production. They put everything on a single piece of paper. But for you, the key must be on a separate piece of paper. This has changed. You may not put the key on the drawings. Touch your nose if you heard that. So here's a street view. Here are the construction views. Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Someone's an architect. And this is the street view for the same house. You'll notice that all the design elements are numbered in the street view. It is, that's what I mean by thanks, Mom. Anybody heard of Jeff Shelton?
Yeah.
His daughter. So you can imagine their drawing was pretty cool. You may know that the Shelton family does some like freestyle welding work. So there's their model right back there. And they had custom welded. They had like a real living garden on top. Totally unnecessary because it works better with wet bags. They had like a metal thingamabobber with like a slide out awning. And the trees that they made are all like welded out of scrap metal and like they pretty much got it. I was like, oh Maddie, I know your daddy. I bet you're gonna get an A on the solar house project.
Just put it in.
So I asked for 8 on the key, but they pretty much practiced. Check that out. Hobbit House and other views. They made a model that was unfortunately very realistic, but did not have any of the ways to actually test their functions. So they made a beautiful model of a beautiful plan that got a horrible grade.
That's awesome.
This was a pretty cool one and actually worked really well. It was Casa de los Sombreros. Doesn't have to be a very fancy drawing to get a very good grade. Feel free to save paper and go front and back. Please do not use lined paper cutouts. Okay. Your plans are due Tuesday of next week. Just the plans. And you'll have to research at least 8 passive design concepts. I will put a list on the board tomorrow of passive design concepts that you'll have to include. Remember, you'll need the key separate from the drawing. Are there any questions?
Is that the plan?
Yes.
What
What I just showed you is what's due Tuesday next week. Are there any questions about anything else?
Carlot is the poster to...
Carlot is due tomorrow.
And that's the whole poster?
That's the poster with the research, like the ones that are on the board now. Okay? You guys want to see some photos of my climbing trip?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Naomi. I think we're done. Oh.